What's up, it's Jim from Kulture Samples, and in this video I want to show you how you can create basses and patches like this in Serum for drum and bass 100% from scratch. And if I take a drum loop from our drum and bass volume 1 pack and I just play around with it, you really get the idea. And the cool thing about this is that there are so many variations that you can get from this sound. And the technique I'm using, specifically the filter with the combs filter thing that I'm going to show you in a minute, is going to result in a world of sound design opening for you, which is great. Just really up the game for certain types of basses that you can use in drum and bass. So let's dive right into it. We're going to use a sine wave, so we can use analog BD syn. All stock, and we take a spectral wave for B. So in our sine FM bass video, I explained that there's a lower sub oscillator and a higher, +7 harmonic type oscillator. So we're going to use -2, 0, and +7 for now. Make sure you take down the randomization so it's always the same sound. It always plays at the same moment in terms of the phase of the waveform. And then we can immediately make a bass shot like this in the LFO. And it needs to look something like this. You can play around with this, but just maybe follow me along like this. So trigger mode, and we're going to put it on 1/8. You can obviously use triplet modes. You can use dotted modes. It doesn't matter, but I like to use 1/8 for now. We're adding this to the level of oscillator A. And we're taking down the level of B. So we now have this sound. Then the really important part is FMing this lower oscillator from the harmonic oscillator B. We open it up. You already hear that very nice characteristic. You could do this with a normal sine wave. The thing that makes it pop is the spectral wavetables. And let's just start with Monster 2, and we're looking for a wavetable that kind of resembles a sine wave, but it just has these nice artifact frequencies or something in the wavetable. There you go. Before I add filters and sound design, let me just add distortion, and we're going to use tube mode, and then we're adding the LFO on the tube so that, at the bottom sound, like when it's at 0 or whatever, it still has distortion, but it gets a nice boost during the shot. Like this. What I'm then doing is in the filter, and this is very important, let's just select A and B, just in case that if we tweak something in B, it's still going through the filter, and to avoid confusion. Go to flanges, and then we're going to find the combs L6-. We're opening the low pass frequency, so it enables the combs filter. We had some drive, and we had a bunch of resonance, so that it really opens up. Now we're going to go frequency hunting. And I think that the best frequencies hang around in here. So what I'm going to do, macro 1 to the cutoff, and I'm just going to select this range. And I'm doing this so that I can go back and really tweak the sound design easily without really changing my setup. And that just allows me to kind of frequency hunt and find the sweet spot for this sound. By the way, at the end of the video, we're saving this preset and giving it away for free. So make sure to click the link below to download the patch for free on our website, kulturesamples.com. Let's call this tone. So before I add any more sound design, I'm going to immediately process the sound, because when you process your sound and make sure it's at the quote-unquote end result of how it would sound in your final mix, it will just help you so much because you can really hear the vision. You know what I mean? Like, you can really hear what your final result is going to be like, which is better than first tweaking the sound design and then processing it. Because then you sometimes you just miss out on a sound that you would think sounds shit, but with the processing it sounds cool. So for the processing in this one, we're just going to boost the high frequencies like this, and then add a little bit of gain during the shot. Make sure it's not clipping. Then we're adding a compressor after the EQ. Take down the threshold to around -30, so it's nice and snappy, and take down the attack. Now it gets that nice initial spike punch attack in the shot. I'm not touching multiband because it's just over the top. It doesn't really leave room to tweak it and add nuance to the sound. So I'm also adding reverb on around 20%, and let's take down the size so it hits immediately. Decay, not too long. Low cut to cut the bass, and high cut to not make it too sharp. Then we're going to go into the chorus, which we're going to add after the distortion. Same for the hyperdimension. So this one, take down the detune, open up the mix of the dimension, and take down the size so it's not too wide. Too wide. This is perfect. Then for the mix of the chorus, take that down, open up the feed to 50 and the depth to 50, and the filter range around like 7 to 10K. So one more thing that I like to do is take the delay for these type of sounds and make it a little bit more metallic robotic by opening it on ping pong, adding around this range. Take down the BPM and link them, and then just take it to around 40. Or maybe normal, also fine. More feedback. You can hear the difference. You're adding this sound. It's a really metallic frequency. So now we added a little bit of processing to our preset, which is great because here's what it sounds like without. Pretty boring, and now you can really hear the vision. So to control the processing, let's just add a macro to every mix like this. Same to this delay. And then reverb, I kind of always want to have reverb. So this is going to be called process, and then... Or let's call it widen it up, because we're widening it. So now we can really dive into the sound design. So take the filter and put that in front of the distortion and find another Combs filter. In this case, I'm just going to go with the L6 Plus. You can do whatever. You can also choose these, but just keep it simple first. Try to use the L6 minus or L6 Plus. So let's choose L6 Plus. Open the low pass, add some resonance. So again, these frequencies sound great. Add some drive. There you go, really getting it to life now. Maybe add a little bit more gain to the highs. You can also get really wumpy, aggressive jump up stuff. But let's keep it on octave 0, so it's a little bit lower. So let's control the FM amount as well right here. We can change the wavetable. And I want to control the resonance, honestly, because that's also a big part of this preset. It's like the resonance to this Combs filter. And I want to tweak these macros so I can just really easily change the whole sound of this preset without having to go into very specific knobs. You've seen me link the macros, so you understand what I'm moving, but now we only have to move the macros. So EFM. So So what's really missing now is bass, like a very nice sub frequency. Obviously just open the sub oscillator, take it down -2, because this one is a -2. Add the LFO to the level, and here's the difference. You can blend the sub with oscillator A and then find a sweet spot. Make it a little bit longer. So the more you go into these weird waves, the sharper it gets. And the more you go back to the sine wave, which is great about the Monster 2 wavetable, the more you get this resonant harmonic +7 frequency. But what I think is missing now is more power. So instead of using tube distortion, we can use diode 1 distortion, and great alternatives are diode 2, sine shaper on a low rate like this, but let's just use diode 1. And this is very aggressive, very fast, so put it on 50% and then just open it up all the way like this. Cool. So now we can go and change wavetables, because we've been using, this could be your end result. You can get so many variations and different sounds just by tweaking any of these wavetables. So let's start with oscillator B and just see what happens if we change something. And in this case, because we go to -2, I don't want to add +7 semitone, but just keep it like this. And some work well if you do them like this or... Ooh. You can create so many variations because you can add an LFO to this as well. And then you have a different sound. What you can also do is tweak this and tweak this. You can hear how there are so many variations. Two more things you can do is introduce the noise oscillator and do something with oscillator B. So let's first add a noise oscillator, and I like to use the air cans because they're nice and sharp. And let's add this LFO on this as well. This is a nice thing to go through the filter. You don't want to have the sub go through the filter because as you can see, we're cutting into the sub frequency and that's not really what we want. We want a stable sub. It really does add a nice sharp edge to the whole sound. So I'd say the noise is very important. Now, the final thing you can do is also add a level to the oscillator B. And maybe disable this one. So then we're just really working with oscillator B instead of FM from oscillator B. But you can also blend them together like this. And then you get a lot of variations because so much is going on. But as you can see, I'm just leveling up the preset all the time. I'm just starting with 2 wavetables, then I'm adding some FM, then I'm adding a sub, then I'm adding a noise. Then the filter does a really big job, obviously, because that's this. And then with the filter, still a nice sound, I guess, but so the final thing you can do, and you saw this in the sine FM bass video as well, is you take FM from the sub oscillator, because this is a stable sine wave and it's just low pitched. It's always going to be a nice wobbly wave. If we add that as FM source for oscillator B, this very spectral weird wavetable is going to get FM'd very nicely. So and it just adds a little bit of animalistic feeling to it, especially if we take those sine type spectral waves. There you go. So FM from the sub is great for this purpose. And now you can get really, really weird blends. So we can also add a FM to this macro. Take the drum loop. Now you can obviously change this as well, wavetable. Maybe we can tweak around, let the tone also direct the wavetable, so then we get a really weird blend between a filter, movement on the cutoff, and also on the wavetable position. So this is where you just tweak it and grab different wavetables. So for example, I want to try something like solid state. I think it's around here, solid phase. And let's also... Ooh, okay. And then we take spectral and we try solid phase 1 as well. Why not? Take down the FM. And now you can get jump up if you just open another octave. So I guess that's the tutorial. You can grab this preset and I'll add a few more for free as well, variations on this on a website. So make sure to grab that below. If you enjoyed the video, drop a comment and let us know what you want to see in the future. Thanks for watching and have a really nice day. Cheers.